These are the 5 signs you might need a probate attorney. I'm Taylor Kaspar, owner and managing attorney of Legacy Estate Planning, where we help people coping with the death of a loved one transition well. So these are the 5 signs that you might need a probate attorney. But first things first, what is probate? Probate is that court process that takes place when someone passes away and their assets either don't have beneficiaries or are held outside of a trust. Probate typically takes place when there's real property or all of the assets put together equal more than $75,000. Now, I know you might be thinking if there's a will, that there shouldn't be a probate, and that's just not true. Wills by themselves do not eliminate the need for probate. In fact, they ensure a probate. So if there is a will and there aren't beneficiary designations or there's not a trust, you may be in for a probate. But today, I don't want to just talk about whether or not you're in for a probate. I want to talk about if you think you're in a situation where a probate is necessary, how do you know if you need to hire a probate attorney? So here are the 5 signs that are going to tell you that you may need to seek legal help. Number 1, if you're dealing with intestacy. Intestacy is when someone passes away and there isn't a will. So if there's no will, there might be some complexities and some issues that need to be addressed. Now, if there's no will, the state of Minnesota actually has a will for you. They're called the intestacy statutes, and that decides who is an heir to the estate of the person who's passed away, how much money that person should get, what their share should be, and what the overall probate should look like. So if there's no will, it's very important that you are up to par on exactly what needs to happen under the state statutes in Minnesota law. So if you're not sure about that and there's no will, then you probably need to seek legal advice from a competent probate attorney. The second reason you may need to seek the advice of a probate attorney is if you're dealing with a complex estate. Complex estates come in all shapes and all sizes. Some of the complexities that I've seen over the years include a variety of different types of assets, some of which don't have any beneficiaries or aren't spoken for specifically in a will. Other things that I've seen come up are when there are properties in multiple states, like multiple homes, timeshares, cabins, land that's rented out, farmland, and different pieces of real property, and they're scattered out over multiple different counties, states, and all sorts of places. Another complexity I've seen is when there are blended families. There's certain rules and laws that say that you can't disinherit a spouse. So if there's been a second marriage situation, regardless of what any wills say, there may be a situation where an existing spouse might get more than the rest of the family bargained for. Large estates bring their own types of complexities too, because if the estate is really large and it exceeds the amount that is the tax threshold for estate tax in Minnesota, then you're going to need to get the advice not just of an attorney, but also of a CPA, so you can figure out how much is due and owing in taxes on top of all the distributions and things that you may be dealing with and those complexities in the estate. So if any of those issues are present, you definitely want to consider seeking the advice of a probate attorney. The third sign that you may need to find a probate attorney to assist you is if there's lots of family conflict. Now, oftentimes a will set forth who should be the personal representative, who should have authority to administer the estate, but that doesn't always stop people from fighting in court, especially when there's a probate, because we're already before the court, somebody's already filed, there's already a hearing date, and so we see more conflict actually because it's easier. There's a lower threshold for various family members to throw their hat in the ring in the form of an objection against who should serve as personal representative, sometimes objecting as to whether or not the will is valid or if there was some form of undue influence, other times objecting to the manner of distribution, say that the will just says, oh, in equal shares to my kids. Well, one person might want the house and one person might want the car and 2 people might want the tools in the shed. I don't know. But, when there's family conflict, that does definitely make it more difficult. And just to keep things on the up and up, it's always really helpful to have attorneys involved who can take the emotion out of it and make sure that the law is being followed to the T, regardless of family conflict and how people may feel about each other. The fourth sign that you need a probate attorney to assist you is that there might be debts or creditor claims. We do see that oftentimes people will pass away and debts arise 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 months, even after the person has passed away. And so there's lots of records that get kept. Lots of companies will come out of the woodwork sometimes when probates are filed, asserting claims for mortgages, credit card debt, medical bills for expenses of final illness, ambulance bills, unpaid rent at assisted living facilities or nursing facilities. Sometimes the person who passed away was receiving medical assistance for long-term care or some sort of elderly waiver, and the county has an interest in their probate estate and will come to recapture various assets that exist in the estate. When there are creditor claims, it is really important to understand the rules and the law around the claims. Some claims have a higher priority than others. Some claims must be paid. Some claims are optional, believe that or not, right? And so you have to know what are the types of claims, who must be paid, and in what order, so you can make sure you don't have any issues where we're clawing back assets from beneficiaries after the fact, or trying to get money from one creditor because it was supposed to go to the other creditor and the personal representative doesn't want to get in trouble for messing it up. So where debts and claims are concerned, it is very useful to get some legal advice to understand what the personal representative's obligations are with paying those, who should get paid, how they should get paid, or if these creditors even need to get paid at all. Fifth sign that you want to probably engage a probate attorney is if there are minor beneficiaries. Minors cannot inherit under law. So if a minor is named in a will, or if there is no will and there's an intestacy situation and all of a sudden a minor child is going to be a beneficiary, you want to make sure that you understand how a minor child can inherit and when. The short answer is they can't inherit, but sometimes we have to do things like get guardianships over that minor child or a conservatorship so that a company can pay out to the child's conservator instead of passing those assets along to the State Department of Unclaimed Property. You also might have an option to establish a trust for the benefit of that child for some lifetime assets. There's all sorts of proceedings actually that happen sometimes when minor children inherit, and because they're a little bit niche and it depends upon the size of the inheritance, the age of the child, whether or not that child has a special need, if there was some sort of lifetime arrangement that we need to consider, like ensuring child support maybe until the child turns 18. Because of all those different moving pieces, you may want to consider really consulting with somebody who could give you firm direction or handle those legal complexities for you. So there you have it. Those are the 5 signs that you may need to consider consulting with or retaining a probate attorney to help you transition after the death of a loved one to that next phase in life. So if you found value in this video, make sure that you subscribe to this channel, like this video, and turn on notifications so that you never miss an update from me.